as Wilco makes a run ahead of it. Bergkamp suddenly changed pace through the centre. It's Bergkamp! That's magnificent! The move, and then this, which left Dabby's ass totally stranded.
Hello and welcome to a Bergkamp Wonderland. We are an Arsenal podcast, and I haven't showered despite going for a run and going to the gym today. So I fucking stink. There goes the first F-bomb of the evening. My name is Kris. I am your host. Hello, everyone. I'm still here. I'll explain maybe a little bit later on where I've been, but I'm still here. I promise. Me and Danny have not fallen out.
I just haven't told you yet.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. But yeah, basically it involves a large hippopotamus and a very, very large lawsuit. But we'll come back to that later on. We have been a little bit here and there with our schedule, but you know what it's like, listeners. If you've followed this show for a long time, you know what we're like. These things happen. Danny basically is the only one who's too fat and lazy to do anything with his life. So he's always here.
Rude. But
people like myself and Karl actually work for a living and have lives. So,
Karl works for the underground. He just presses the button and tells people to hurry up.
True. But also, who's going to count Femi's appearance fees? Because that's a job in itself, which I think John's doing at the moment. So, Anyway, fun fact actually. Before I do the intros, I've just come to the new. I've just ventured into the world of the John Wick films. I tweeted about this last night, and I've watched all 4.
What number are you up to?
I've watched all 4 now. I finished the last one last night.
I do hope you've put them in the order 2, 1, 4, 3.
No, immediately, no. I went 1, 4, 3, 2.
4 was fucking atrocious.
Really?
That step scene at the end was just monotonous. But then again, you had the top-down view bit going through the rooms. I
loved that. The cinematography is fucking fantastic. Yeah. But anyway, the whole point of that dialogue was I was immediately thinking that that big club looked like one of Femi's wings of his house.
That's where it was shot.
Was it on Femi on location?
Fantastic. Yeah, it was shot in his Kyle Walker fan club appreciation wing.
Ah. Is that the dog nonce, Kyle Walker, or a different one? Anyway.
Well, they share it.
I feel we should move on. Hi, Danny. How are you?
Hello. Have you, the bloke who wrote, directed, sorted out the John Wick films, did a show with Bob Odenkirk, a film with Bob Odenkirk called Nobody. You watched that?
I haven't.
My groin is tingling. And also watched Bullet Train.
Bullet Train I've got on my list, and I've also been recommended Equalizer or the Equalizer series. So
I only watched that because I love Denzel. Not the Welsh.
Oh yeah.
In the words of our late great Steve, fucking get on with it, Jesus Christ.
Well, hi Karl. By the way, how you doing?
I'm fine.
Good. No, I mean, it's international break. It's the interlull. No one fucking cares about, anything.
You mean you didn't watch that marvellous game yesterday with North Macedonia 1, England 1?
Do you know what? I actually did. I've actually watched both of England's last games because being a big Malta lover, I had to watch that. And I stuck a couple of quid on the England game, and I very nearly won that bet, but I didn't. So sad times. But yeah, they're bad, aren't they? So do you know what? Do you know what? You all know my allegiances is with the French. However, Southgate is going to cost you that tournament because on paper that squad is easily as good as anyone.
Yeah, thank you. Then I was thinking the same thing. What do you mean you?
Not you. Literally, you English people.
I think we're all English and none of us support England.
You English fans.
As someone once said, Brexit means Brexit. We're apart from the Europeans now.
That's what it meant. Breakfast.
To be fair, Karl, you have a little bit of a soft spot for the French team, don't you? I remember us chatting about it last summer. So
I do. And we won 14-0.
Indeed, yes. A legend is born in Warren Zaire-Emery.
It was so easy that France even had a made-up regen. I've seen him. It's not a real human being. Who scored on his debut and then got injured. Not even a real human being.
He was
an FM23 regen, and bloody hell, he's good.
Best midfielder since that's Fabregas, in my opinion. Anyway,
yeah,
we might
Malcolm.
Legend, Zenit legend. We may
coming to the Premier League very soon, Malcolm, and the rest of them.
You probably will end up at Luton or somewhere. Anyway, we will touch on that in a minute. Basically, tonight's show is going to be organised chaos. We'll probably be here for an hour or so, just talking nonsense. Everybody in the chat, welcome to you. I see some regulars there. Steph, how you doing? Jim, how you doing? Fly KJ, Patrick Carlson. Oh, they're the only ones I can see at the moment, but I'm sure there's more. Englishman in Canada. That's a great name. Hello to you, sir.
He grew up in Huntingdon, where I grew up.
Oh, well, you have my sympathy, sir.
We've been emailing quite a few times. Lovely, man.
Have you?
He looks too happy. Or... Maybe he's met Jeff. That's the only way anyone could be that happy while standing in snow. I'm sure it's him.
What a man! He's already in my good books because he's asked us to keep this to 3 hours. So yeah, I can 100% assure you, sir, it will be shorter than 3 hours tonight because I really need to shower. Anyway, let's jump in. So we're not going to go back as far as Burnley because no one really cares. Burnley is shit and we beat them. So dirty northern bastards. But we are going to talk about a few bits and bobs. Danny, I feel we should wind the clock back a little bit and let's talk about our friend and yours, fellow podcaster Soph, and the good folks at the Highbury Squad. They had an interview a week and a half ago now, wasn't it? Time flies. With
Monday Madness, so that was a week ago yesterday.
There you go. So we're coming to the party a bit late, but I wanted to give them a nod and a wink because fair play. They got the scoop there and a lot of places picked up on it. Even Goldbridge picked up on it. Sky Sports, the lot of them. And I'm sure everyone knows what it was to do with, but props to Kevin and Soph. They had Aaron Ramsdale's father on. And to be honest, I don't really want to go into too much what was said because that's their show and I don't want to steal their material, so to speak. But I do just want to touch on the fallout from it, if you like. Danny, you've got pretty blunt views. I know, who'd have thought that was coming. But you think that maybe don't slander his dad because he is just a man at the end of the day. But you weren't really a fan of this. We'll come on to what it might mean for Arteta and Aaron Ramsdale himself when I come to Karl. But you just felt that as good a job as Soph and Kev did, this probably wasn't the best of ideas as far as his father went.
I think you can sum it up with at one point he went, Kev, you're an ex-footballer, Sophie, you're a football fan. No, Sophie's a journalist, and a damn fine journalist. She winkle-picked you for every little bit of controversy and headline bits that you can get. She did a perfect job because, quite frankly, the bloke wasn't the kind of person that you would normally be interviewing whose parent would go, oh yeah, the lad's done well, the team's done well, the manager's done well, the club's done well, move along. He gave far too much away, way too much. It was embarrassing, the amount of stuff that he was saying. Twice he said to Kev, but when Alan Smith, when Ian Wright came in and you were dropped, were you told why? And again, Kev said something along the lines of, well, you don't. You just get on with it. I know Ian Wright was here, different sort of player, same sort of player as me, and so you couldn't have all three of us playing up front. Although later on in Europe, he did play all three of us. You just get your head down, you show the manager what you can do, and then Then he went, yeah, but did anyone explain to you why you had been dropped from the team for no reason? I thought that's not good. We have historically laughed at Ashley Maitland-Niles' mum ringing up Arteta. This took that to an entire new level. It was in cringe. It was embarrassing. It has not done his son any favours at all. A really, really good podcast. You should go and listen to it. And Sophie and Kev are their usual brilliant selves. Even at a couple of times, you can see Kev going, "Oh, I'm not thinking. I don't think we should be talking about this." It's undermined the manager. You've undermined the club. You've undermined your son. And should not have said any of this stuff. This is the kind of stuff that you shouldn't even say to people that aren't family in case it gets out. Ramsdale is done at that club now. We've all seen how Arteta will not put up with any kind of shenanigans, be it Ozil and the Uyghurs, be it Aubameyang and not turning up on time, things like that. This is a whole new level above that. This is Premier League level kind of fuckery. And if Ramsdale isn't going, Femi's going to be laughing at this because he told me in a podcast 2 months ago. I said he'll be gone in January or the summer, and I laughed at him. I said, "You don't know what you're talking about." But it was horrible to see. Is it entertaining? If you haven't seen it, go and watch it. And it's just Sophie being a brilliant journalist.
Yeah. I echo everything about what you said there with Soph and Kev, friends of the show, obviously, and I think they were friends already with Aaron's father. I know that they've done shows with him before, so it was obviously quite an easy thing to set up. But I think, although I may be not as passionate as you about this, I think I tend to agree with quite a lot of it. Karl, let's talk about what this means then, because I think the big issue that we've got here is, so we play Brentford at the weekend, a game which Aaron Ramsdale is going to have to play. Well, I say he's going to have to.
Karl Hein.
He doesn't have to play. Where's the Swedish lad when you need him? On loan at Cardiff. Runarsson, but not Swedish. Where's he from? Is he Swedish?
Icelandic, isn't he?
Icelandic, you're right.
Runner the Gunner Runarsson.
Yeah, he was pretty bad, whatever he was, bless him. Anywho, but yeah, Aaron's probably going to have to play this game, Karl. And football fans being what they are and tribal, he's going to get a lot of stick from the crowd. He'll probably thrive in that, and he'll probably lap that up. But there is a bigger, there's a bigger issue at play here, isn't there? Like Danny said, we've got, whether you like it or not, we've got 2 very top level goalkeepers, and if we're going to win this title, if we lose one of those, we are a serious injury to a goalkeeper away from, potentially losing that title race. Whether you agree that we should have 2 world-class or top-quality goalkeepers is another question. Personally, I don't think it's ever going to work having 2 of that level. But we've got them. But we're surely in a situation now where Aaron Ramsdale's going to look to move in January. And I guess the first 2 questions I've got for you in the same line is, A, do you think he'll move in January now? Do you think this will speed it up? And B, does this present a bigger problem with the manager and what he's going to think about this?
I don't think he moves in January because no one's going to stump up the 60 million we're going to want for him. No one in Europe is going to take that money. The only other team, if you think about it, could be Chelsea because flipping Sanchez is fucking atrocious. But Chelsea are not going to pay 60 million or 50 million for Ramsdale that we require. I think the interview... No, you spoke about the interview. So I think Ramsdale's father knew what he was doing. I have a feeling that... I don't think you sanction that interview without Ramsdale's permission. And surely he said, "Oh, by the way, Aaron, I'm going on a podcast." And surely they must have discussed what they're going to say on there.
Do you think he knew? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you. You reckon he knew? Okay.
Yeah. You don't, you know what I mean? You don't do that without talking to your dad, like, at all. So your son. So you don't do that without talking to your son. And there's obviously a conversation that he's had with Aaron. My issue is, yes, he was angry, and I understand. But this the issue I have is Aaron Ramsdale's a good goalkeeper. He has his moments. But what goes around comes around. I'm sorry, you did this to Leno. When you came in, Leno was the number 1, and your mission was to oust Bert Leno. You did that successfully. Well done. And Leno had to leave. Now someone else has come in and is doing the same to you. You can't get mad. It's like, I'll put it down to, if you're cheating on a woman, a woman's cheating on you. No, what's what I'm trying to say? What I'm trying to say is, if you're cheating with a woman and she's got a husband, and then you then take her from that husband, and then she cheats on you, like, you can't complain because that's the shit. That's what it is. So,
where's John when you need him?
Yeah, exactly.
Cheating on someone.
So him getting angry about losing his spot when he done exactly the same to Bert Leno, I'm sorry, you can't get angry. And yeah, maybe it's shit the way Arteta did it. We don't know what happens behind closed doors. We don't know if the conversation did happen and it was said, look, I'm bringing him in, blah, blah, blah. But what people have to remember is that Raya was the first choice before Ramsdale. He tried to get Raya, couldn't get Raya, and then we got Ramsdale. So then, now he's be able to get his quote-unquote first choice goalkeeper that he wanted. He saw an opportunity, he did it. I don't think this works out well for him. I don't think he goes in the winter. I don't. I think in the summer, then he had the conversation. But Ramsdale's just worried about his England squad spot because for some unknown reason, he's the second choice goalkeeper, 100%. But for some unknown reason, Southgate said, "Oh, unless you start playing, I'm going to choose someone else." But yet Calvin Phillips doesn't play, and you pick him as a starter. Harry Maguire doesn't play, but you pick him as a starter. So that is just stupid in itself. But I think that's what the problem is. Ramsdale is worried about his England spot and not going to Germany for the Euro. So I don't think there's another backup goalkeeper better than Ramsdale. There's no other English goalkeeper that's good enough, personally. But I think that Ramsdale just needs to just settle down. And I think the interview that he done as well, I don't know if you've seen it, he done an interview with Ian Wright and a rapper. And he was saying that he can't concentrate on a game for 90 minutes. He has to have a moment of he has to have a moment of madness, and then he returns. Arteta will fucking flip his lid for the simple fact that every time we score, every time we get concede early in games, which we've done at the Emirates a few times, are you going to put it down to you weren't concentrating? We did it against, who was it? Southampton. We conceded very early, and who did we come back 3-2 against? Whoever that was, when they scored when they scored in the first 10 seconds of the game.
Fulham.
So shit like that is not going to help his cause, because you're literally saying to the manager, I'm sorry, I can't concentrate on a game, so I'm going to be stupid. I'm going to do something, maybe concede, and then I'll be okay for the next 70 minutes or 80 odd minutes. No, you're not helping yourself. And it's got a bit of a sport child syndrome about him, and it's not coming up to be very well. So hopefully, whatever it is gets resolved. Like we said, Kris, he's going to play against Brentford on Saturday.
Yeah.
And after that, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, he may get some FA Cup games depending on who we draw in January. But barring that, I don't know if we've seen the last of Aaron Ramsdale in an Arsenal's shirt.
Yeah. I think the only sort of defence I can give on this one is we haven't heard from Aaron Ramsdale himself, and I think that's the only thing I would say is that we don't know. I do tend to agree with you that I think he probably did know his dad was going to do this podcast. I wonder if maybe they didn't expect this to go as viral as it did. Maybe I mean, because as I say, I mean, some big names picked this up. It was on a lot of podcasts. It was on Sky Sports, all over the shop. And I wonder if maybe they thought, I mean, if they'd have come on here, no fucker would have listened. It'd have been easy. But
he could have done it naked.
We could have. We were like Aaron Ramsdale in the background, fully bollock naked, just jumping around. But
using kittens, no one would give. No.
I mean, we could literally we could volley kittens off a bridge and no one would watch it. It's great. We wouldn't do that.
Like the old days.
But yeah, I think the only thing we can say is that we haven't heard from Aaron Ramsdale. I wouldn't blame him if he was upset. I wouldn't blame him if he wanted to move. I think that's fair enough. Like you said, Karl, he did oust Bernd Leno. And in his defense, he has always said that he did, that he was trying for Bernd Leno's place, and he never denied that. And he does sound like a quite grounded individual. I just think that, as you said, Arteta's wife, when that podcast went out, she must have hidden, because I bet he was fucking raging. He's not a manager. I'm
sure Arteta must have got. And this is the thing. So now Arteta's gonna whenever they go back to training. So they would have returned back from Moldova yesterday, probably back in training tomorrow. So back to training tomorrow. The people who's on international duty. I'm very sure he's gonna get called into the office and be like, explain yourself, explain what happened. And this is when Aaron Ramsdale probably needs to humble himself. So he either needs to lie and say, I'm really sorry, boss, I didn't know my dad was going to do that. Genuinely, I didn't know he was going to do that. But I can't come out in public and say, I didn't know my dad was doing that, because then it seems like, there's an argument between me and my dad. So I'm really sorry. My dad didn't mean to do that, but I can't then go and say, look, I don't don't
He's
condone
his
this
own man.
interview.
Yeah,
He can't do it. So he
Yeah.
said, "Oh, he's had to go full guns blazing and say, well, it's the truth. That I don't know why I'm dropped. You haven't explained to me why I'm dropped. I think it's unfair. Blah 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 blah." So, and if he does go that route, that's the route out the door.
Can I ask you about that just before we move on to another topic? Because I don't want to spend too much time on this, but can I ask you about that? Do you feel that somebody put in the chat? I'll scroll up and give them the credit they deserve, because Bulgarian Guna, elite football is cutthroat business. Deal with it, and he's spot on. This isn't like the Pirates. This isn't Taunton Town. Like this is the Arsenal. This is.
Well, you wouldn't
like,
have put up with it at the Pirates, would you?
No, personally, no, because it's a squad game, and you have to accept that if you don't perform well, you get dropped, or if you are too pissed to play, then you don't play. But do you feel that? Do you feel, Karl, from your perspective, that Arteta should have given Aaron Ramsdale, a reason behind why? Because he doesn't have to, does he? I think Kevin Campbell said on that podcast, didn't he? He's like, nobody ever told me why I got dropped for Smudger. So, he doesn't owe him an explanation, does he? I mean, sure, it'd be nice to do that, but Arteta doesn't strike me as the guy who would
concur.
do that.
He doesn't owe him an explanation. But I guess, when like a striker gets dropped, you know why? Because, he's not scoring enough goals.
Yeah.
Or if a midfielder gets dropped.
Or having tattoos on their hand during lockdown.
Yeah. Or if a midfielder gets dropped because they're not running enough or not creating enough. I think when a goalkeeper gets dropped, and especially since we've done so well last season, is it a bit of a kick in the teeth? 100%. Like, it's a kick in the teeth because we've done so well last season. Had we have won the title, would Ramsdale have been dropped? I'm not too sure. And that I'm not going to blame Ramsdale for some of the games that we lost, because he had Rob Holding in front of him, which was a tough time. Did he fuck up sometimes? Yes. Name me a goalkeeper that doesn't. Name me one goalkeeper that doesn't fuck up sometimes. I think Arteta is cutthroat and he's ruthless, and I think not every player deserves to know why they've been dropped. I think goalkeepers are a little bit different. I think, if he could say, look, Aaron, I need you to do it. So, like I said, with a striker, you can say to a striker, I need you to score more goals. He doesn't score more goals. Okay, I need to change it out. Say to a midfielder, I need you to create more chances. You don't create more chances? Okay, you're out. Ramsdale didn't concede loads and loads of goals. I think last season it was quite good in his conceding. So I don't know, but I think that interview has done so much harm. I truly do, and I think the reason why fans are kind of on the fence is because David Raya hasn't been convincing this season. Like, he hasn't. He's there are times where his crossing there is something wrong with him catching crosses. I know, he stands on that near post and he really wants to, command and attack the ball.
Isn't it?
And I understand it, but you see things like what happened against Chelsea.
Yeah.
And what's the other goal that he conceded? It was against Lens.
In the Champions League, yeah.
Yeah, so there's things like that. He's just not convincing. And some of his kicking out, and I get it. The instruction is wait for the last minute to kick it out because you want to draw the player towards you. It's a dangerous game. And when it works, it's fine. But when you're rushing and then you kick it to an opponent and then they just straight away go up attack your goal, you put yourself into danger. And I think there needs to be a fine line to... I think it happened with Leonard. Do you remember when we played... no, it wasn't. It was Czech. Do you remember when we played Watford? Do you remember we played Watford?
Yeah,
and
the away
game. The instruction was go short, go short, go short, go short. No matter what, go short. And he didn't change it up. And then remember we conceded that stupid goal. And I think sometimes goalkeepers need to make a decision. You know what? I'm just going to go long. I need to get rid of it because I'm under too much pressure. And it doesn't seem like we do that. So, I think, it's a problem, but, we'll see the fallout in the coming days anyway.
Yeah, and we're not privy to what goes on behind the scenes. I still think that on paper, and if you look at the stats and everything, Raya is the better goalkeeper in terms of just general, everything about him is slightly better in the stats columns. Iñaki Kanya, I think Demsek's made a point in the chat, and a few others as well. He was there at Brentford. I think he has a massive sway. He's Spanish. He knew Arteta. Arteta brought him in. I think that's quite a big say. And I think the biggest thing about all of this, and I hate to go full Brexit, if Aaron Ramsdale was from France, Germany, Sweden, Bulgaria, nobody would give a shit. But because he's English and because he's a nice guy, everyone loses their shit. So, you know, I think
but
that's...
if David Raya's mum wants to come on when he does get dropped...
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Especially if
If you're a MILF, definitely.
Yeah, just
Daniel.
don't get John on. Let's move on to another subject, Danny. Shall we... Do you want to explain what's happened in the world of football today with regards to loan players? Because I didn't see this when I got back from the gym. I was kind of scrolling Twitter, and the only tweet I saw, which I'm going to read, is some bloke called Jeff Arsenal. I don't know if have you ever heard of this guy?
Sounds like a chancer.
Sounds like he does, doesn't he? Let me read you what his tweet said, because I thought it summed this up quite well for somebody who hadn't really seen the full story. Newcastle and others are free to sign players on loan from the Saudi League, even if they have the same ownership. The Premier League is fucked. So I felt like that summed it up quite well. To people like myself who haven't seen this yet, Danny, or maybe you're in a different country and haven't woken up to this news, what's going on and what does it mean?
The easiest way I can do this is the people who own Newcastle didn't they buy the 4 best clubs in the Saudi Pro League?
Yeah, PIF is it that own them? Yeah.
Yeah, and so then hold on, another window. This one here. I just happened to keep notes on the players that have gone to those teams, just because I couldn't believe how much money they were spending on. So people at home and on the bus taking the dog for a walk or having a poo. Al Hilal they've got Neymar, Kubilai, Milinka Savic, Malcolm, Neves, Mitrovic, and someone I've never heard of. So they can have any of those. Al Nassr have got Ronaldo.
Bunu, Morocco's number one goal. Yassine Bunu, Morocco's number one goalkeeper at the World Cup.
Bless
anyway, carry
Bless
on.
you. Al Nassr have got Ronaldo, Sadio Mane, Aymeric Laporte, Brozovic. Who else have they got? Alex Telles. They've got David Ospina. I remember Luis Gustavo when he was at Wolfsburg, and we wanted him as a DM in Germany. Wow, great days.
And Marseille, yeah.
Al Ahly. AHL, I get the two. I get them. Thank you. Firmino, Eduardo Mendy, Mahrez, St Maximum, Ibanez, Frank Kessie. I don't know any of the others. And the other team they bought is Al Ittihad. They've got Benzema, Kante, Fabinho, Luis Felipe, and the young Scottish striker.
Did Nunu get fired?
Jota. Huh?
Did Nunu get fired?
I think he did, didn't he?
Oh yeah, I've not updated it. Yeah, they got.
Okay.
Didn't they get a Spanish? Didn't they get the old Spanish striker in?
I don't know who the new one is. I know Nuno went, but yeah, I don't know who the new one is.
So there you go. The gist of it means that any club that you own, because we've seen loads of times with Nottingham Forest and their owner owns Olympiacos. Players backwards and forwards. Oh, we've got Bob Smith. We don't want Bob Smith anymore. Bob Smith's on 60 grand a week. What are we going to do? We're going to flog him to Olympiacos for $1 million, and then he's off our books. We get another one. This happened a lot with the triangle of doom in the Championship: Watford, Granada, and Udinese. The Pozzos owned all 3. I think now they've got rid of one of them. You go have a look at that. They abused the loan system so much that season that they got promoted. There was like 20 or 30 players going between all 3 clubs. So like Udinese would buy a player for $5 million and loan him to Watford. There you go. Watford now haven't had to spend too much money to get out of the league. They changed the rules in the Championship. Shame Josh isn't here. Shame Josh doesn't turn up anymore. Oh, I'm busy this week. So they can. The gist is they can do whatever they want. If you
Who was that meant to be?
I was going to say it sounded quite accurate, actually.
It's Josh. He's off he's knitting yogurt or whatever he does while riding a bike, and he's
is he on like Great British Bake Off budget version or something?
That's what he's doing.
Yeah.
And so we all know Man City own New York City FC, and they've got Adelaide City, and there's all these clubs they own loads of other clubs. Brighton have got that one, SG in Belgium. We've been linked to a few, like we've got Colorado Rapids. I mean, that's working out well for us. So you can have there was a vote today. And I think it was 13-7 in favour of not bringing that law in. All it needed to be was 8 teams to say, no, we're not doing it. And then it wouldn't have been brought in. So the clubs today that voted to not block to ban it was Newcastle. They were owned by Saudi. Sheffield United, owned by the Saudis. Man City, they've got a whole load of teams and they're owned by the Qataris. Chelsea, they're owned by Americans who I don't know how many links to other clubs that he's got. Everton, 777, they're going to invest, aren't they, from the Middle East. Wolves, owned by the Middle Easterns, and Forest, owned by a Greek bloke who owns Olympiakos.
Shock.
So there you go. That's why they've allowed it. So all of those players, however many you're allowed to loan in, he can have the pick of them. He can go Benzema, Firmino, Ronaldo, and if Neymar's fit, we'll have all those because maybe they can only have 4 loan players. Get them all in, £1 a week contracts. There you go, job done. Ridiculous.
Karl, are we over? Not overanalyzing. Are we overthinking it? Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not a fan of it any more than I'm sure you and Danny and many others are. It does reek of corruption, but is this just not where the league is now? I was listening to, I can't remember who it was, podcast wise. It might have even been the Arscast, but they were making the point that Serie A in the 90s when we were growing up, I still remember the theme tune. It was, it was the league, wasn't it? It was the place to go for the top superstars. And the Premier League has now kind of surpassed that. La Liga was probably the place to go in the early 2000s, and now the Premier League is the place to go. But is this just a sign of the fact that we've got so much money swirling around in the Premier League? Are we just in a place where we almost just have to just shrug our shoulders and go, well, I mean, we're not dealing with them, so let's look after our own house? Or am I just being a bit naive and just accepting it? Am I part of the problem in thinking, well, we should just get on with our own business and leave the other fuckers to do what they want?
Well, you're not part of the solution, Kris.
I
think it is pure corruption. And I'm not just saying this because I'm an Arsenal fan. I'm saying this because I'm a football fan. And Danny summed it on the head. What's going to happen is because the Saudis have got so much money, they can buy anyone they want in the world as long as the player decides to go to that club. And what will happen is whoever, not being rude, but just whoever that club that club will buy someone, and then all of a sudden that player's on loan at Newcastle or whoever. And I think and surely, when that deal is getting done, I'm sure they get told, oh, we're going to put you here for 6 months, but in January, you're going to be going on loan to Newcastle, or you're going to be going on loan to XYZ. I think it's wrong. Like, it's just a way of getting around FFP. That's all it is. It's just a way of getting around it. And honestly, would I think differently if Arsenal were linked to a different club? I probably wouldn't, because I think it's cheating. If you can't afford to buy this player, then that's it. And it'll be something stupid like, oh yeah, we're going to loan this player, but we're only going to pay 10% of their wages. You know what I mean? It's pure corruption, and we all know the Premier League. I'm saying it loud and proud. The Premier League is fucking as corrupt as human comes. Like, just look at the refereeing situations and all of that. The Premier League is corrupt, and I can't wait for the day that the bubble bursts. I honestly cannot wait for flipping someone to investigate the PGMOL, which we'll probably talk about later. But I just think it's wrong. I do. I really think it's wrong, and the fact that I don't understand, and we said it off air. Why do these newly promoted clubs get a say? They should not get a say. I'm sorry, Sheffield United are going down at the end of the season. It's 100%. They're going down. They shouldn't get a vote. I think you should be established. You should have to be established 2 years before you get a say. I just think it's wrong, and it's annoying because now you're going to see. Now it was almost like a free pass. Oh, we've got away with it now. So blatantly, all these clubs are just going to start loaning players and moving them around. So, unfortunately, Kris, this is the way the league is. I know what you're saying. The league is the best in the world, and maybe it is, maybe it's not. I don't know, but is it the most corrupt? Well, no, that's the Italians, but we're not doing ourselves any favors, I think. And because football is not a sport anymore, it's a business. It's a pure business. Clubs are going to do whatever they can to gain an upper hand. So can I blame them? No. It's a business. They want to get themselves an upper hand. 100%. do what you need to do.
My bigger concern is the money that they can afford to spend on players that have not yet gone to Saudi, if I'm honest. Because if you look at that list Danny put up there of all those players, there's very few, if any, of those players that I would ever take at Arsenal, if I'm honest. I mean, the lad who the players who've gone to Saudi now, who would
really?
Yeah, I wouldn't. Would you? I wouldn't take Neves. I wouldn't.
I'll take Neves.
I don't know if I would.
I would.
Because
in our midfield, you wouldn't say Partey's finished. He's
and I'm not saying I wouldn't upgrade Partey at this stage. I think you can do better than Neves. I'd take Paulinho over Neves personally, but the rest of them, like the only two that I would look at would have been Jota, who that's been a spectacular failure, and Gabriel Veiga, who I think was the pin-up signing, wasn't he? Because he's only 21, so he had a brilliant season for Celta. And and I think he probably would have been. But you look at the rest of them; it's just a bit of a retirement, like Brozovic, Milinkovic, Savic. Maybe you could argue he's still at his top game, but you're looking at the likes.
Might need David Ospina back.
We want to stand behind the line. I can hear Jace now, but I don't know. I wouldn't touch Benzema with everything as good a footballer he is. All the baggage goes with him. Fabinho I wouldn't touch. Kante I wouldn't touch at his age and his injury record. Ronaldo no chance. I mean,
God no. I think anyone who's gone there has gone. We all know they've gone for a payday. Like we're not stupid. We know they've gone for a payday. However, how long until? Let's say they've got like 20 million in the bank and they bank that. How long until they're like, I need to come back? Like, because surely Saudi's not. No one is going to live out their 4-year contract. Not one player. No, and even so, like, we're not. So the wages they're on, no club in Europe is going to pay them that wages. Not even PSG, Man City. No one's going to pay. I don't think Man United are stupid enough to pay those sort of wages. But at a certain time, like I said, once they bank their money and they're like, okay, I'm now set for life. My family's nice. I'm good. I now want to go back to Europe. Any 21-year-old going there, I just think is fucking stupid. Like really, really stupid. Because what's going to happen is because the competition is not as good, you're going to lose it a little bit because you're going to then come to Europe and think, fucking hell, like I can't even get past an average right back in the Premier or in any league. But I was walking past these lot in Saudi.
It's why Mbappe didn't go when he had the opportunity to go for 6 months, and they said, "Yeah, we'll take you for 6 months, and then you can go back and go to Real Madrid." The only reason he didn't go is because he didn't want to lose sharpness ahead of the Euros. Like Didier Deschamps essentially confirmed that in a press conference, and basically sort of said, "Yeah, he had an offer, and he loves Paris, etc., and so on." But ultimately, he didn't want to lose sharpness. So yeah, I mean, it's like the big issue you're going to have is like Demsek's put in the chat there is when you start getting players who are literally signed by a club in Saudi and they never even end up over there, because that's going to happen where a player from Saudi will be he'll be signed but he'll be immediately loaned back to Chelsea, or do you know what I mean? So yeah, I mean it's one that it's fresh off the press tonight, so we'll see where it goes, but I'm inclined to agree.
Didn't they say while they were doing all this that fund has put aside £1 billion $1 billion to get all these players over there to prove that they are World Cup worthy? And Infantino and all the other corrupt scumbags said Australia have pulled out of the 2034 trying to host the World Cup, going to Saudi Arabia. It's not even been officially announced. AC Jimbo was talking about it, laughing about it, going, well, there you go. It's just gone there now. Another country that shouldn't have a World Cup, because you've seen, might lead up to another topic later, they've played constant football now for however long it is. 2 years? Remember back when we had Alexis Sanchez, we going season with Arsenal, then off with Chile for the World Cup, season at Arsenal, then it was the South American Cup, then the season with He didn't go 2 years without a break. We're seeing that with the players now, and that's why so many injuries are coming. But now they've got the World Cup, they can go, you lot can all fuck off now. We don't want any of you over here. We're not going to go playing Neymar £2.6 million a week when he's not going to play again for the next 6 months.
Yeah, I do agree. I do think it's one of these ones that's going to run, and I feel sorry for Arsene Wenger and all this, because I think he saw this coming, didn't he? Bless him.
Drago has got a good thing here, so it's a good point. He says nobody mentions the attendance is over there in the Saudi league, though, wasn't it? The
Athletic, was it Athletic?
Steven Gerrard and Henderson, wasn't it? 766 people.
The Athletic had an article.
The standard is like Scottish League, isn't it? From what I can gather.
I think it's worse than that. Like I said, and people are going to lose their match sharpness and also their skill factor, because whereas you don't need to work as hard. Like, I'm sure people can go over there and just run past people and then come back over here, and people have a problem getting past people like Cedric, and it's ridiculous. So,
or old Cedric.
I genuinely think it's going to take a while for people to get up to another level if they ever come back over here.
Yeah, I do agree. And nobody's watching that league. Like, literally nobody is.
Not even highlights.
Nobody gives a shit, do they? And Branko's put in the chat as well the WWE situation. Something close to your and my heart.
X reformed just for one match over there.
I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think they. Well, I saw Crown Jewel
Triple
recently.
H and Shawn Michaels were back in the ring a couple of weeks ago doing the DX thing.
Oh, then maybe they did. I saw most of that show, but yeah, I mean, it is all about money.
We saw the complete fuck up that it was Kane and the Undertaker against Goldberg and someone else. Goldberg nearly killed one of them.
Yeah, he did. And all the women can't wear their usual ring gear because it's too revealing. So
and there's no women in the crowd hardly.
No, fucking embarrassing. What a shithole. Anyway, let's move on before I get closed down for libel. You touched on the injuries. Should we mention that briefly? The big one was the Gavi one, wasn't it, Karl? That was the big one. But does it highlight a bigger problem with what's going on? We've been dealing with Gabriel Jesus as well. I think he's going to play for Brazil tonight against Argentina.
He's starting with Martinelli, isn't he?
What could possibly go wrong with Christian Romero, the absolute fraud at the back for Argentina? But yeah, we've had our fair share of issues with players being injured and whatnot. But yeah, where do you stand?
Sadly, I don't think it's even over, Kris. Like, we are one ACL injury away from Saka from our season being ruined. And respectfully, I pray it doesn't happen, but if it happens, no one will be surprised. The way that Arteta plays him, no one will be surprised at all. I feel sorry for all these players. People can talk about, they get paid X amount, blah blah blah, but players' careers are being shortened and getting ruined because of the overplay. Now, I don't know. No one knows what is causing all these ACL injuries, but for one, I mean, do you remember last season, Kris and Danny, when the women went for a spate of, there was about 10 players, high-profile players as well, not just for Arsenal,
was one
who went who all had ACL injuries. It's just ridiculous. So something needs to, like, they need to look at the boots that they're wearing, the ground, maybe the training, the overuse. Something is wrong. Like, something is fundamentally wrong in football. Why so many players are getting exactly the same injury?
Because Beth Mead only just came back, didn't she? Recently?
Yeah, she started the first game on Sunday. But something is fundamentally wrong. Why so many players are getting exactly the same injury? And someone needs to look into it. Is it the fact that they played too many games? Well, maybe yes. Was it the fact that I remember we was talking about the pitches in America? Did that contribute? Because almost everyone who's had the ACL injury recently played in America. I think that was something that was said. I've got a real feeling that it may be the boots that people are now wearing, because if you think, sorry to sound like oh funny daddy, go 10 years, go literally from now 10 years ago, hardly anybody got an ACL injury. Hardly anyone. So what has changed? Are boots, has the ground changed? No. Is the football, like the ball changed? No. Has training methods changed? Well, mum would say training's improved, recovery's improved. People take ice baths, get massages, stretching, so they do all of that so to prevent it. So what is it that now players are doing why they are getting these injuries?
I think you make a point there that the pitches, I do wonder, because you look at like some of the pitches that Highbury was always regarded as one of the best around, our groundsman year after year, won groundsman of the year, and it was a playing surface that was a carpet. But I can still remember games. I'm sure Danny will remember these. Like Villa Park always used to be one that cut up on a a cup semi-final day, or like Old Trafford used to be a bit shitty. I remember Anfield being quite shit back in the like Paul Ince Liverpool era and the Gary Pallister Man United era. Like, I remember a game at Anfield one year and it was a real like mess there. So I you know, like when you make something so, to put it analogy, like my granddad before he passed, when he was like, you know, in his youth or whatever, he grew up in an era where, okay, he was, you know, he's fighting in Malayan wars and God knows what else, but he grew up in an era where you walked down a country lane and you just picked a raspberry. It didn't matter if a dog had pissed on it, shat on it, eaten it, vomited it back into the hedge, you just ate it. Exactly, that's exactly it, Danny. That's exactly, it was the old school mentality that you almost need a bit of bad stuff in your body to help your immune levels. Is there that argument now that we're all, that these footballers are so precisely, they're so like, everything is just highly so wound. Perfect. Exactly, they're so tightly wound that anything goes. And I'm obviously I'm nowhere near the levels that they're at. Certainly not paid to do it, but I'm in marathon training at the moment, and something I've had to like really embrace is you can't just stick on any old pair of trainers and just go for a run 3 times a week. And, you know, yes, you can if you just want to plod along the floor. But if you want to run a distance like 26 miles, you have to have like the best shoes, the best equipment, the best recovery. You have to do strength and conditioning exercises. You have to get yourself in a gym, because if you don't, something will inevitably go twang. And I feel like with these footballers, they're all, you touched on it, something else there, Karl, that they go on international duty. They're not the same physios that they have at their clubs that they see 7 days a week. They go to a different physio. If that exercise they're doing or that workout they're doing or whatever is slightly different, surely that puts a strain on the body. And the boots, I mean, yeah, I tend to agree. I think there was a study done on the women's boots, wasn't there? And they've had to, I think Nike were one of the big losers of that, where they had to come out and admit that they had to create a boot specific for women's feet because it was more important for how they were, the load they were going through. But I don't know. You're a bit old school, Danny. Do you think that not the players are too mollycoddled, but do you think there is an element that they could just do with, you know, a little bit of old school mentality, or just given an actual full day off rather than, you know, an hour off here and there to lie on the treatment table? Maybe just actually have a day off a week. Like, how do you think they should do this?
They're just, the teams, the UEFA, FIFA, the FA, and the club owners are doing it to the players themselves. I mean, the summer break. How long did Saka get off in the summer break after playing 2.5 seasons back to back of every single league game? You get a couple of weeks off in the summer, then it's off to a really long, pointless USA tour. Non-stop England friendlies, like last night we saw Gareth Southgate playing all of these players and none of them needed to play. That game, they could have lost it 10-0. It would have made it would have been more entertaining if they'd have lost 10-0. Absolutely pointless playing Saka, playing the rest. And when you got young men on the bench that would look at a game like this and go, this is one of the games that I got my chance. Like Rico Lewis I think he made his debut last night. Played really well. Why didn't you play a few more? Why didn't Eddie get a chance? Why didn't you do some of these? The players are not getting a break. They're like Formula One cars. It's not like with Karl's shonky old Merc that he's got, where you can just bounce along the road and over speed bumps, it's going to be perfectly fine. They're like Formula One cars. Slightest little niggle, slightest little knock, and the entire thing needs to be taken apart and rebuilt. There's last season, 4 players had ACL injuries. At the moment, we've had 7 this season. Julian Timber, Emi Benduia, Tyrone Mings, who the people are worried because he's got mental health issues. And I was watching a couple of Villa tweets and they said he's making an announcement tomorrow and they're worried that he might say he's retiring from football because of all of the stuff. Rico Henry, Wesley Fofana, Ivan Perisic, not really a footballer. And there's one other that I couldn't find. Look at them all. They are highly wound springs. They are instruments. And you cannot do this to them all the time. You need an old-fashioned 6-week break in the summer. You need to stop playing 5 Premier League games, 2 international games, 4 Premier League games, 2 international games, 5 Premier League games, 2 international games. Don't do it, because you're going to break them. We have got a golden generation of probably the best ever of the England team at the moment. And they're going to break them. And Arteta is just as bad because he keeps playing Saka all the time. Never gives him a break. Brings him on when it's pointless. we can all see it, but no one wants. Like Gareth Southgate just wants to make sure that he doesn't lose. He wants to win as many games as possible at the expense of all the players and our bloody brains. You can see what's going to happen.
Yeah. I do wonder. I don't know whether, in our minds we've just forgotten about injuries we got, but again, my mind always goes back to sort of like mid 90s, which is like the peak for me growing up and really enjoying football in my teens, I suppose. And I just don't remember. I always remember like the horrific injuries. Like, do you remember the Dave Boost one at Old Trafford, the Coventry defender? Do you remember that one?
Oh yeah, the made
broke his leg, and and I remember Luke Nillis.
Schmeichel puked when he saw it.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, you're right. And the Luke Nillis one when he was playing for Villa at Ipswich, and
snaps.
But they were leg breaks. They weren't like, and every player's twanged a hamstring, or Christ, you can do that running for a bus. Like that the body is a finely tuned thing, whether you're thin or Danny. But if you are a finely tuned athlete to the peak, like the very, Christ, these guys are literally. I'm sure their chicken is weighed before they eat it every day. It's just not like us where we roll out of bed and go, "Oh, I fancy a coffee and a couple of pieces of toast. I'll go for a run." It's definitely more needs to be done. And when you've got the money that we've got in this league,
but it won't be done.
Well, no, because the pressure is
greedy.
The pressure is on to keep getting those star names out there, isn't it? Speaking of star names, I feel like we should touch on the Everton situation as well, because that's swirling around. I'll be honest with you. I'll start with you, Danny. I couldn't give a fuck whether Everton get docked 10 or 6 points because it's Everton, and quite frankly, fuck Everton. But it does represent. Hello to all the Everton fans tuning in. But it does represent a bigger question here. And I think I don't know if you've got the statement to hand, but I think that the last line in that statement that Everton put out was very interesting, where they essentially alluded to the fact that they'll be keeping a very close eye on what other charges, if any, are levied against other teams that are facing sanctions. Chelsea, 115 charges FC. That's the bigger thing from an Arsenal perspective, isn't it, Danny? Because if Everton are being docked 10, maybe 6 points on appeal for basically making sure their stadium gets open next year, Man City are going to the conference, aren't they? We all know they're not.
It's different things, though, isn't it? Everton's was simply, we spent too much money. We've tried to get around it by saying we lost more during COVID than anyone else, and we knew what we were doing, and we hoped we'd buy our way out of it by selling players, and we had no midfield, blah de blah de blah. We admit to it all. We spent too much money. We thought we'd get away with it. We didn't. Man City and Chelsea are going, what? Speak to our lawyers. Talk to the hand. So that's why it's a completely different bag of fish, because two different things. Everton will probably get some of their points back, but everyone dislikes Everton at the moment. But then the Chelsea and Man City thing, they need 1,000 points deducted from each of them. Off to the conference you go.
1,000 points. Would you be happy? And I'll ask Karl the same question in a second.
God, you're going to give us one of these, this or that, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. Well, I feel like everybody else has asked the question. Like, would you take being awarded titles, and they brought this up on the Arscast, and I agreed with Andrew. Would you take being awarded one of the titles if it meant Spurs also got awarded the one where they finished second? Because I wouldn't. I don't want any.
The Champions League and Marseille and Juventus for one of the exactly. Null and void. Nobody won it.
Exactly, because
then Spurs don't win
it. It means nothing. Like, we're not all going to go out and have a street party if we're awarded the title from last season, are we? Nobody's going to give a fuck. It's about the here and the now, surely.
When did Spurs finish second?
They finished second behind Chelsea, didn't they? And was it 16-17, I think? I want to say.
I forgot. Okay, yeah. It just went back to the Leicester one where they were second, first, and then third.
Funny. What would you do in that situation, Karl?
Fuck it. They can't have a title. They cannot get a title. Fuck them. No, and I you're right. I think Everton are looking at the Man City and Chelsea thing, and now the Tottenham one, which we'll talk about in a minute. Pricks. But it's gonna. So I watched a video, and it was a breakdown of why it's taking so long for the Man City one to come to it, because it's 115 charges.
Yeah.
And Man City have come out and said, we've got nothing wrong, but Man City have also taken the Premier League to court to question the validity of them bringing up the charges. So that's why it's taking so long as well. So if they've done nothing wrong, but yet still Man City are taking the Premier League to court to question the validity of them bringing up the charges, you just say, we've done nothing wrong. Look at our books, it's fine. Of course they've done something dodgy. They know they have. My issue is Man City are going to keep pumping money into their team, rightly so, because they've done nothing wrong so far, allegedly. They're just going to keep getting stronger, keep getting more titles. It's almost a foregone conclusion that they're going to win the Premier League again. They're a phenomenal team. They are absolutely phenomenal. However, does the league get tainted if, let's say Man City are found guilty? Does the league now get tainted? So all the titles that Man City have won, 5 and 6, I want to say. I think it is.
Yeah, I think it is.
Does that bring down the value of the Premier League? If Man City do get relegated, which we all know they're not, nothing's going to happen to them. But if they do, does that bring down the value of the Premier League? If Chelsea get relegated, does it bring down the value of the Premier League? If Man City are not there, we'll all celebrate because we're like, oh, finally we got a fair chance now at winning the league. But the 1 billion fans that Man City have now bought, do they then lose interest in football? And that obviously has an impact on finances around the world. Man City don't sell that many shirts. The interest in the Premier League is not that high. They don't sell TV rights. It has a knock-on effect in all different factors. So you have to wonder how much energy the Premier League have got to really bring these charges to Man City and Chelsea, because Everton are small fry. No one gives a fuck about Everton. Let's be honest, no one gives a fuck about them. But Man City, they're not the same league, and Chelsea are not the same league either. So, yeah, I'd have to wonder how much energy the Premier League really do have for Chelsea and also Man City.
I should say I didn't dislike the old Everton. I quite like the fact they kept their old ground, and I didn't mind Ken Wright. I always thought his heart was in the right place, rest his soul. And it's more this because since they've gone to Usmanov and all that it's made me think that, and Dyche, yeah, exactly. I mean, they've just had a lot of shitty managers, haven't they? But saying that, good luck against Man United on Sunday. We'll be rooting for you. Go on, the boys.
I've got a little thing here to look at. Tell me when you're bored with it, because it is an acquired taste. Right, how much of the screen can you see at the moment?
Yeah, we're all good, yeah.
What I've done is every season of going back to Chelsea got taken over in 3-4, Man City 8-9, Newcastle last season. If you remove all of their titles, all of their league positions from those games, those seasons, then Man United get 5 extra titles. 5, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 17, 18, 20, 21. Arsenal get 3 titles. 4, 5, 14, 15, 22, 23. Liverpool get 3. 13, 14, 18, 19, 21, 22. Spurs get 16, 17. Blech. Everton would have got in the Champions League with 3rd place in 04-05.
That's 13, the bigger 14. Issue, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah.
Ferguson would have won 3 more titles. Wenger 2 more titles. Rodgers would have won 1 with Liverpool. Jose would have lost 2 titles with Chelsea and 1 back with Man United. And this is all my own work, people. I haven't looked this from anywhere. Solskjaer would have got a title with Man United. God. Leicester would have had 2 3rd places back to back. Brighton would have got the Champions League football in 22-23. Brentford would have got it, the conference football. Leicester and West Ham would have got Champions League football in 2021. I mean, that's huge for both of those clubs. And then if you go back and look at it, like you were saying, Karl, when did Spurs finish second? Well, they finished second in 16-17 and 17-18. And so go on.
I was going to say, and more importantly than all of that, Spurs would still be massive cunts.
Well, yeah, true.
Yeah. And completely really irrelevant. Even if they got awarded a trophy, they'd still be completely irrelevant, which is the good.
Well, it'll be stripped from them, won't it? Because I guess this is a nice time to segue over to their atrocities.
What do you know? Tell us about this.
Today it's been discovered that when they signed Jermaine Defoe illicit payments were made to certain agents.
Are you
So the
telling me
Premier
Harry
League.
Redknapp was
I was gonna say, was
is
that
involved in
Harry
something dodgy?
I never said any names. Whatever names you
I don't even know
concluded,
what an
that's
email
up-
is.
Sandra, don't get it, Sandra, don't get it.
That's up to you. But the Premier League are apparently looking into it. So, I mean, I'm going to be really honest with you. I'm not going to shout too loudly because I'm sure there's a deal that I'm not going to mention who or what deal, but I'm sure the deal that come to Arsenal that I'm sure is going to be investigated at some point very soon. I'm being very honest, but fuck them, fuck Spurs. They should be relegated to the Conference South. They should be playing Sutton United away and Dulwich Hamlets away. They should be going into the first qualifying round of the FA Cup. I would say take away their titles, but as you know, people, there's nothing to fucking take away. But it'd be funny. It's going to be very funny that if anything does happen to them, what will be the sanctions? Because I'm sure. Listen, I'm going to be very honest with you. I'm sure there is not a Premier League club who hasn't had a dodgy deal. There's, somehow to get it over the line. I don't know what you're talking about, Danny, but I'm sure there's not a Premier League club who hasn't had some sort of dodgy deal. Oh, make this payment to this person, and the deal will get done, and how payments get done, or donate to this charity, and I'm sure every single Premier League deal is not above board. It's not. And I remember the first time I heard about the word tapping up, and it was Ashley Cole. I think that was the first time I heard like what tapping up was and all sorts. And that's what made I was kind of naive up until then, and I think that's what made me realize that football is dodgy as hell. Like, and people will go to extreme lengths to get a deal or get a player over the line, and it does happen, I'm sure. I mean, you look at the Pogba deal to Man United. So Pogba wanted to go to Man United. Juventus wanted to sell him. The deal was done, everything is in place, but somehow the deal was held up because the agent wanted was it 17 million or something stupid like that just to make the deal happen, even though all the parties wanted the deal to happen. It's just it's really weird. Very, very weird how football deals are done. It's not just normal. Oh, I want to buy this player. Oh, how much do you want for this player? How much you want to get a week? Yeah, you want this? Okay, here you go. Here's the contract. Sign the contract. Bish bash bosh. No, there are so many different angles and factors involved in deals now, and I think it just becomes like I said, football is a business. It's not a sport anymore. It's an actual business. So it'll be interesting to see how many deals the Premier League actually does look into and how far they actually go back.
Well, there could be thousands, couldn't there? I mean, you look at how many deals, even in the modern era, how many deals go through after the deadline, because of the fax machines. Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's so many that go on. And isn't
2 days later, isn't it?
Yeah, although they say that the paperwork was done. And isn't it funny that isn't it funny how time heals a lot of wounds? Like I'll be honest, like I don't hate Ashley Cole. I just don't. Like, I think he made some bad choices, and I think he was badly advised, and he was clearly tapped up. But at the end of the day, it's a business. It hurt us at the time, but I don't really blame the guy for going. If we really did offer what we did, I think he had every right to look at other options. He was the best
100%.
left back in the world, for Christ's sake. Like, we should have paid what was due. Same with Cesc Fabregas. I know that people think he went on strike and whatever. He was probably one of the best midfielders we've ever had, and he wanted to go home, and that's just how business works. And the other one that upsets me, weirdly to this day, is Laurent Koscielny, saying he went on strike. Like, we literally broke that man's body. He had every right to want to go back to France and have a quiet, retirement. So
and that ended well for him in France, didn't it? Got relegated.
Well, yeah, but I mean, he wasn't really fit the whole time because of what he'd given. And that guy literally gave his body for Arsenal. So I mean, yeah, I always think there's two sides to these stories, and it's just there's so many deals and so many intricacies and workings. And let's be honest, you've said it before on this podcast, Karl, and I think Fem's mentioned it. these agents are rich for a reason. You know, they've made good careers out of this. There's a reason why the Salt Bay of journalism is still getting thousands of retweets. You know, because that sort of stuff sells in the media.
Do you know what I don't understand? And so I know Kevin De Bruyne, he's his own agent. He doesn't have an agent. So what I don't understand is a club wants to buy you. So the first thing you do, you contact the agent. Do you think this player is interested in coming to this club? Yeah. Okay, yeah. So then the club then contacts another club and says, you know, we want to buy this player. We want to sell him. Yes, agree a price. Then you have to. So if I'm a footballer, I'm going to sit down with the club and say, this is what I require. I want this amount of money a year. I want 20 million a year. Whatever that works out to. I want you to buy me a house. I then want, you know, a scoring bonus of 50,000. Every time I score a goal, I want 50,000. Every time I assist, I want 25,000. I want a win bonus. I want this, I want that. How hard is it for a footballer to sit down with another person and say, this is what I want? Why do they then need to pay an agent to tell them talk? What they want? It's shit. I hear it, Danny. I know, but the thing is, it's so stupid. And the football to say, "Oh, I don't have time to sit down." What do you mean you don't have time? You fucking train for like 2 hours a day. So I just don't. If I was a footballer,
because Harry Kane, when he does his contract renewal, will end up coming away with a box full of chopper chumps and a flurry hat.
No, it's Harry Kane's brother, the architect agent superior.
Oh yeah. One.
Oh no, I got a fluffy toy for signing bonus.
Tato. Like, as a man, you would say, this is what I want. So I'm not, you know, the negotiations are not that hard. They may negotiate, say, oh, we can't give you 20 million. How about we give you 18? And you say, okay, you say 18, I'm hearing more 19.2. And then, you know, that's how you negotiate. But I don't understand why, as a footballer, you would pay someone to go into a meeting to get what you want. It's such a weird concept.
I'd rather play a lawyer, wouldn't you? I'd rather pay a lawyer than an agent. Like,
exactly.
You know, when
it's just.
But saying that, Karl,
weird.
if any footballers want you to represent them, will you?
I would, 100%. No, I would go into negotiations.
Yeah,
you would, because obviously, if you're a shrewd negotiator, everyone knows whatever price you want, you don't tell them. You start off here, and then you get them down to what you want. Even when you're buying and selling cars, like if you're going to buy a car, you don't tell them how much money you've got to buy a car. You say, "Oh, I've only got this," and then you talk until you get to the price that you want to make. It's called haggling. That's exactly what it is. And I don't understand why footballers. I mean, I can't imagine someone dumb like Jack Grealish going into a meeting and saying, "Oh, I don't know, mate. I don't know what I want." Like, I can't imagine like him going.
It's like he was in the room.
I just think footballers are fucking stupid because all that money, and I think what is it, 10% that they get? So whatever the deal is, and the sign-on bonus. So let's say the sign-on bonus is 2 million, and I know it's only 200. I know to a footballer it's only 200,000, but to give another person £200,000 just to be in a room to say, "Oh, by the way, mate, I know you remember you told me that you wanted 200 grand. I got you 200 grand," and you're like, "Okay, so I'm not paying you this amount of money." It's fucking stupid. Footballers are ridiculous, and that's why I said I shout out Kevin De Bruyne because he's his own agent. He doesn't have an agent. He negotiates everything himself.
Yeah. I tend to agree with what you said there. I feel like I just feel like it's the right thing to do. Like, you know, making sure that you look after number one and cover what's needed. But yeah, I mean, agent, Christ. I mean, and God knows, if they did investigate all those deals, we'd be here till God knows when. I mean, it would go on for years, wouldn't it? But speaking of going on for years, let's move on. I feel like we're sort of I feel like we've done some of the general issues here amongst all recent talking points. Danny, anything else you particularly want to touch on this week? I mean, did you want to look ahead to Arsenal's next game, or do you want to talk a bit about the international crap? Or
Lord of Arsenal, he's killing us. He's killing us with boring. It's like when George Graham won the title in '89 and then went boring to win it in '91, conceding 14 goals in a season. This season's killing me. It's so boring.
It's interesting that you say that. I must admit, I'm struggling a bit this year, motivation.
Okay, so talking about boring, I had this conversation at work. Obviously, I was doing my job at the same time. Clearly,
obviously,
are we more boring this season, or are we just more efficient? So by efficiency, I mean like we're not playing last season we did play a little bit of gun-ho football. You know, if we concede, we're going to go out and we're just going to try and outscore you. And I think we're a little bit more patient this season. I think we're a little bit more, I think a bit more streetwise, I'm going to say, because these scrappy 1-0, I mean, everybody wants a 3-2, you know, it's very nice to get a lovely 3-2. But I think we're a bit more streetwise. So we'll take a little 1-0 because, you know, we're better defensively at the moment. Like we are, I think we're very good defensively. Yes, we conceded some silly goals, but name a team that hasn't. And I don't think we're just being more rash like we was last season. Like we're still picking up the wins. I mean, we still only lost one game we've lost one Premier League game this season, and two. No, we lost to Newcastle.
Just Newcastle, isn't it? Yeah,
just Newcastle,
and
we've lost
one
Champions League game and one Carabao Cup game.
Yeah.
So you know we're not doing badly. Like we've lost, like we're the only team that's only lost one game this season, I believe. Like every other team's lost more. So yes, the football may be a little bit boring. It's not Emre football boring, but it's not boring. But are we just more efficient? Like, I don't know if you want to answer that question.
No, I think you are right. I think I'm probably the worst person to answer this question because for me, I've just, after all those years of hipstering and watching like literally 54 games a week, I'm just a bit done with football at the moment. Like of course I always want Arsenal to win. I still get invested. I still love the club. I grew up, 5 minutes from the ground. Like it's in my blood and I will always love Arsenal no matter what. But I'm just not, like Twitter, I couldn't give a toss about anymore. I don't really interact with people because you can't have a normal conversation with people anymore now. It's always got to be shouted over a podcast or retweeted, subtweeted, fucking, do you know what I mean? There's always some smart ass that wants to tell you wrong. As for the actual match day experience, I think the fact I can't go to games at the moment at all because tickets are, that's a whole, well, we did a podcast on it, didn't we? I don't know. I feel like we haven't quite expressed ourselves. PSV at home, wasn't it? That was the game where we really, we really opened the throttle. But I wonder how much of that. Yeah, but I wonder how much of that was because PSV were bloody awful. And the Man City game was fantastic, but it wasn't a fantastic game. It was just great that we finally beat them. Man United was good because of how we beat them, but it wasn't a brilliant game. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I go back and forth with Mikel. Like I love the fact he loves the club. I love what he's done. I have to completely admit I was wrong about saying that, he wouldn't achieve anything with us at that time because I did feel like we were going in a rough direction. But I just think, I don't know, I would just like to see us have a go at teams a bit more and open up a bit more. And I go back and forth. But I think you're right, Karl. I think we are more efficient. And I think that's what Mikel wants. I don't think this is by accident. And maybe we just need that new midfielder to come in the Partey position, or, we need that new striker to all get excited about it again, or, maybe that's what it needs. I don't know. Why do you feel the way you do, Danny? Are you like me, where you're just getting a bit old for football now? You're just a miserable shit? Or?
We've got the same ability we had last season. I think a lot of it's got to do with the fact that he hasn't had his best 11, and occasionally he doesn't know his best 11. Having to stick with players because you've got no choice because so many of them are out injured. But it's the main thing that annoys me is the sideways ball, the playing it back. I know it's to draw them out, and then there's not as much counter-attacking football, which I really love seeing Saka and Martinelli doing their stuff. And eventually it will click this season, and someone is going to get an absolute walloping off of us. I know Sheffield United did, but that really didn't get going until the second half. Yeah. But I want to see, when we're 1-0 up and a team are rubbish, I want to see us pressing early on, getting 2, 3, 4 goals, and then taking it easy. Someone made a really good point when I was very rarely, I think it may have been that moron Dion Dublin. He said that players can't keep running the entire games. It was either him or I had the shits at the time, so I was listening on Radio 5. And whoever was there saying that Saka is really clever with this because he won't run the entire game. He runs when he needs to run.
It's the Messi factor, isn't it?
Huh?
It's the Messi factor. He made a career out of it. Yeah.
Waddle when needed, run the rest of the time. And it's just, I want to see him as hammer teams and beat them early on when we get the chances, not wait until, because we scored the most number of goals in the last 10 minutes of the game or whatever. It's like, are they gonna score? Oh, was it no? Oh, is it? Oh, and then you get to the last 10 minutes and you beat them 6-0.
I think
I didn't need the stress for the last 80 minutes.
Femi's made a good point. I think when teams play us,
No, I can't believe that for a second.
If only he was here rather than
He's
the MI5 building.
Well, we know what he's doing. Like, he's helping Rishi Sunak hide his billions.
All we're going
in
to
the
say
tax
is
haven
the next
offshore.
James Bond will actually be a black man. That's all we're saying. It's based on real events.
Can
All I'm
open
saying
guns
is-
everywhere.
There's a reason why Femi's gone to Cuba a lot of times, and he's got 4
With a suitcase.
passports. He's got 4 different passports. Nothing to do with being Nigerian, by the way. Just saying, Femi's got 4 different passports. But
One of them has got your picture in it. It says 6'8".
no, but Femi's made a good point. Because I think when teams play us, they sit back. It's very rare. I mean, it's very rare that teams actually come to attack us. Unless you're really good, that's the only time you're going to attack us. And because people know, if you come and you literally come to attack us, we're going to destroy you. We're going to absolutely finish you, because there's no way you're going to push up high against Martinelli and Saka, because they will run in behind and they will just absolutely murder you. I think to try and beat the low block is hard. It really is really hard. And because, like you said, the sideways passing, Danny, when there's no space and teams are just defending their 18-yard box, it's hard to try and get in. So that's why, you pass and you look for space, you make a run, you look for space, And I think it doesn't help, one, where Jesus comes and wants to be either a centre midfielder or an attacker. So there's no one in the box to try and break down. Yeah, there's no one in the box to pass to. And we don't have, or Eddie, who, as good as he is really bad at holding up the ball. So he can't, hold up the ball and wait for the runners to come either side. He's just not good enough to do that. Are we missing a tall striker? Maybe, I don't know. I think
Frenchman.
Be still, my beating heart.
I've seen so many. I've seen one today where we linked with Vlahovic. I'll be honest with you, that ship has absolutely.
He can't even get in the Juve team. Why would you
I
want him
do
there?
not. I fucking don't want him there. Like you said, he can't get in the Juve squad. So no, I don't want Vlahovic. That ship has passed. We could have got him. He didn't. He chose to go to Juventus. You've made your bed, now fucking lay in it. I don't think we're going to get Tony, because Brentford want too much money for him, and they're going to see this as, oh, maybe we can, get a lot of money out of Arsenal. I don't think we're going to pay the 80 million that's been reported.
And he's a loose cannon as well. Arteta's not. He's not a square peg for a square hole, is he? He's going to go, fuck you. I'm Thingy Bob, whatever his name is.
Talk of a new contract as well, isn't there?
As well. And there's no release clause apparently in there. So I don't feel like he's going to be coming to us. The only people who are stupid enough to probably pay the 80 million is someone like Chelsea, or maybe
that's the answer to everything.
Yeah, or Man United if they get this investment from this new guy.
Because all of Man United's 18 strikers combined this season have 2 goals.
Yeah, so I can see him probably going to Man United if they're going to pay that 80 million. I don't personally think he's worth 80 million, but I guess you're only worth what someone is prepared to pay, I guess. I don't know if there's a striker out there, Kris, in the French leagues who is tall, because I think that's the profile player we need. I think these little strikers, we've got Jesus, we've got Eddie, but I think we need a tall striker, someone who can get on the end of crosses, who can hold up the ball, who's strong, someone along those lines.
Well, not just tall, but mobile as well. Basically you need Giroud when we signed him back in the day, don't you? Like that version of. Yeah, I mean, I don't think Liga is the place to go right now. I think that ship has sailed. Eli Wahi last summer was a really good pickup for Lens from Montpellier.
There's a guy in Germany, and his name has absolutely just gone from me.
Seru Girassi, are you thinking of?
Is that him? Yeah.
Stuttgart centre forward, yeah. But this is his breakout year. He's never scored goals before, and he strikes me as a guy who's. Do you remember when Sebastian Haller got a bag full of goals for Dortmund last year? I think he's a bit of a streaky striker.
And he's lopsided.
He's lopsided. I don't think... fair play to him, though. Recovered from that, so God bless him. But yeah, I think Yeah, I don't feel like if we're gonna spend that sort of money, I feel like we have to go big for a Premier League type of striker. And I know a lot of people like Evan Ferguson at Brighton. If Josh ever bothers to come on, he'd be the one to answer there.
Isn't he signing the contracts as well? Apparently.
Yeah, but what do contracts mean? I mean, really, that would just be another brilliant bit of business from Brighton, wouldn't it? We know that they'll sell if the money's right.
105 million.
There you go. But I don't know. I just think that, we've proven that if the right player comes along, we'll spend the money. And let's be honest, I think all of us would have said Declan Rice. I think we all thought he'd be good. But I think if we're completely honest, we all probably looked at it and thought that's quite a lot of money for a holding midfielder. But he's been worth every penny. You can't question that now. So I don't know. I just think if it was me, I would be. Here's a question. I'll ask you both quickly while we've got the time. If you have the choice of a fit firing Partey replacement, so whoever it was, it doesn't matter who it is, but whoever it was, they're fit and they play the whole rest of the season in the Partey role. Would you take that, or would you take a striker in January? You can only have one. What would be your priority?
Midfielder. Midfielder, I think, is the priority. Because as good as Jorginho is, I don't think he's good enough.
Need one more.
Yeah. But Jorginho is quite old and he can't play every game now until the end of the season. Mohamed El Nene, as good as we all like him, he's not going to be a starter. And we are one injury away from a Rice, El Nene, El Nene, Jorginho in midfield. And that can't happen. That really can't happen. So as much as a striker, we can rotate. We can put Trossard up front. We can put Martinelli up front. Yes, it's square peg round holes, but we can do it. In midfield, you literally will get ran through like John Welsh on the Friday night with girls. We will just get mullered. So I think if in January, if we could pick up any player, it's got to be a midfielder.
I think we'll be a Charles Segu Jr. Wonderland podcast by the time we actually end up getting the striker we all want, to be honest. I just don't think it's ever going to happen. So it's kind of almost like given up on that idea. But yeah, I mean, you ideally want a Saka, but a striker, don't you? You just want somebody who can come through. But I looked across the leagues the other night when I was bored, and I was looking, and there aren't that many around. There's the lad at Feyenoord, Jimenez, the Mexican, who's having a great season, but signing forwards from Holland or the Dutch league, I don't think always works out.
Oh God, well. No! Yes, no.
Jan Vennegoor of Hesselink or Alfonso Alves. Let's see here, but Matthias Kesman,
a legend.
Yeah, but I don't know. I just there's a few floating around that you could probably look at prizing away from clubs, but I don't know. I feel like the next striker we sign is going to be. Arteta is going to be he's going to be judged on that signing, whoever that person is, and I think we all know we need one. The simple fact is, you just don't. Neil's just put there, literally read my mind. You don't get many Ian Wrights around nowadays, and that's the problem. There just aren't many players out there, and I don't think Ollie Watkins or someone like that is really up to snuff for the level we're looking at. I think we need to go. If we're going to go big, we need to go really big. And as for the midfielders, Paqueta interests me quite a lot, but I don't think we would go.
Injured?
No, I think he's all right. He played for West Ham, didn't he, before the break? But I don't think we'll touch him while there's this betting scandal floating around, because Man City were in for him, weren't they? And
football corrupt. How dare you?
I know. Again, who'd have thought? Somebody asked me actually above in the chat. They asked me about Youssouf Fofana, who ironically has scored for France tonight in their 2-2 draw with Greece. Heavily rotated team. He Say again?
Did Saliba play?
I'll check. I imagine he would have done tonight. Fofana's a really good talent, but his career has sort of gone a little bit quiet at Monaco this season. He's been a little bit. Saliba did start, played the full 90, by the way, uninjured, so that's good. But yeah, Fofana, I think he's the sort of player. He's been at Monaco for a few years now, and I feel like him and Kefren Thuram at Nice, who's the other one linked with Liverpool, those are two players that are probably ready for a move out of France now. And I think if they get good clubs, then they might progress. But I think with Fofana, I just think he's gone a bit stale at Monaco, and I think he probably does need to move on. I just don't know whether he'd be our level. He is 24 now, which surprises me. I didn't realize he was that old. Yeah, I wouldn't be against it, but if you offered me him or you offered me, there's the other midfielder at Monaco who's completely forgotten. He played in the Emirates Cup. Were you at the Emirates Cup, Karl? Did you go to that?
No, not him.
Who am I thinking of? I'll tell you his name because everybody will be on the edge of their seats. He is called.
How do you spell that?
Elliot Matazzo. Elliot Matazzo.
I was about to say that.
He's Belgian. He's 21. Similar profile to Fofana, but I just think he's got a huge upside. So yeah, he would be personally the one that I would have a little go at if I could. But yeah. Anyway.
So what about you? You didn't answer the question, Chris. What would you rather have, a midfielder or a striker?
Both, absolutely. I think I think I'd go midfield as well because I tend to agree with what you're saying there. I think we've got God love Eddie. I don't think he's the long-term solution, but he will get you 5 or 6 goals between now and the end of the season. Like you said, Martinelli can play up front if you need him to. I think we could budget enough. I mean, Christ, you can play Havertz as a 9 if you need to, can't you? It's not like we haven't got options. It's just that I don't think many of our options, barring Jesus, are really good enough. But that midfield area, Thomas Partey. Do you know what? No other podcast has had the bollocks to say this, so fuck it, we will, because no one cares what we think anyway. I was told by somebody who I wouldn't question their legitimacy of this. I was told that when Thomas Partey didn't go to Spain for undisclosed injury reasons, I was told that he would be back fit for Newcastle, or that he would be available for Newcastle. You know where I'm going with this, Karl. Mm-hmm. Do you think, and I'm just going to chuck this out there, do you think that enough has been, not leaked, but do you think like there's enough smoke in this fire that maybe he isn't actually really injured at the moment and they're just making sure that nobody asks questions about why he didn't play in Spain and then was immediately available again? Or is that because it's a bit self-sabotaging, isn't it? He can't.
Yeah, but I don't think he would have been out for that long because he's missed. No. So since the Sevilla game, it's 2 games, isn't it? Newcastle and then Burnley. Yeah. And now they're talking about he's not going to be back to the new year. So just in time for the Africa Cup of Nations.
I forgot all about that.
Yeah. So
and he's been linked with Juve as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, I just think this Partey train is ended now for so many reasons. Yes, the off-field stuff, but I think the injuries are too much now. He's just not consistently fit, and it's a point.
On him, can you?
It's getting to a point now, which is getting ridiculous. Now he cannot stay fit for a sustained period of time, and obviously, I hate throwing out the word injury prone because it is what it is. But he's meant to be. The midfield was meant to be Partey, Reiss, and Odegaard. Now that midfield has not played together, I believe. This season.
Weeks. Yeah.
I don't think they played together at all. I don't think that midfield has ever played together.
Wow.
So it's getting to a point now where it's just getting ridiculous. Like you can't rely on him. And I know people, and he's what, 30, 31?
I think he's some. I'm actually weirdly just looking that up now because I was just questioning how old he was myself. So I'll look that up.
He's 30. So so that's it. Like I think
he should be.
He's 30 in June. You said.
Yeah, 31 in June. He'll be.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think he's just got to cut. There's 1 year left in his contract, right? So next year is his last year, I believe.
And you get money for him if you sold him.
You
get some
paid.
And he's on decent wages.
Yeah, he'd go Saudi, like easily, definitely go Saudi. But I think right now we just have to cut our losses. We have to get rid of him because he's taken up the space of someone who could come in and be the starter. Because when he's good, he's good.
Oh, he's one of the best in Europe.
Yeah, when he's on his day, when he's good, he's good. And that midfield of him and Reiss and
Odegaard
would have been absolutely brilliant. It really would have been. But yeah, it's done now, and I think him going to the African Cup of Nations, if he is fit enough to go to African Cup of Nations, we just need to sell him because that's a bit of a joke. And Ghana are going to take him. Of course they will. If he's got even an inkling of him being remotely fit, he's going to go. He's 100% going to go. And I don't blame Ghana. Like, I can't, this is their version of a Euro. So you can't blame Ghana for taking him. But I just feel like if I was Thomas Partey, I mean, this may be his last African Cup of Nations, so maybe he's going to do everything he can to go over there and play. But if you're Partey, you'd think, I'm going to sit this one out and I'm going to want to come back even stronger. But I'm saying this from a purely selfish Arsenal point of view. He's going to think I could have the potential to win the African Cup of Nations with Ghana, so he's going to try and do it. So I don't blame him for going out there, like if he is selected. I just feel like from an Arsenal point of view, we've got to get rid for several reasons.
Get some money back, split wages. And you do wonder as well, there's two players that immediately jump off the page at me when I think about, you fast forward to the summer, I think we're all in agreement that Onene will probably get a golden handshake. He got the new contract and I think we'll let him go to go and play. And that fair play, what a lovely guy. And he's obviously very, very well liked, but he will want to play football. So he'll probably move on.
I just clocked that he's going to be going to the African Cup of Nations as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he's exactly. Yeah, so he'll.
that midfielder.
He will go on their knees. I would put money on us giving Jorginho another year. I can see that happening if he's happy.
We have to.
Yeah,
as long as I think he's penalties.
Yeah, but the two that jump off the page at me are Ethan Nwaneri, because obviously he signed a new deal, but he's filling out now. He's going to be starting to get to that I'm knocking on the door of at least the first team squad shirt number stage. And Charlie Patino, who we've still got I know people are like, yeah, but he's on loan, who cares? But he was the big breakthrough talent, wasn't he, when he came through last season, or 2 seasons ago as it was now. No, it was last season. We've got to sort his future out. He's only got a year left. When he comes back from that loan, we've got to make a choice, give him a new deal and give him an opportunity, or get rid. So, you've got to free up the space in your midfield. But I do feel the only other thing I can imagine us potentially doing, although we haven't done it yet, is the Zinchenko into midfield experiment. That's the only thing I wonder if we might go down that route, because if Tomiyasu's fit, Timber as well,
Fuck, he goes as well in January.
Yeah,
to the Asia Games.
Exactly. So you've got to be, so basically half our squad is gone.
We are going to be fucked in January. So Partey, Tomiyasu, El Nene, and I'm sure. So okay, that's from the first team. They go, and I get that.
That's enough.
But that is literally a Zinchenko injury from Kiwior left back. Ben White will play every fucking game at centre back. Right back. I guess you're going to have to play sort of Cedric in the first round of the FA Cup.
Just put Cedric up front. Fuck it.
And we are at injury. So then that is literally Jorginho, Havertz, and Reiss playing every game through January. Let's hope one of those don't get injured as well, because. I said he's gonna have to manage that. Well, that's the reason why he's the manager. He gets to manage those. But yeah, that's.
I suppose you got Trossard. You could move Odegaard back and play Trossard in the 10 or the 9 and move Martinelli. So you've got options, but I just can't. I can't see a scenario where we don't sign somebody in January. I wouldn't. I don't know about the money, but I think we'll only buy big in January if the right player is available. To quote Arsene, if the right player is available, we will have.
Yeah, but just bring back Dani Ceballos, like.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, he'd do a job, wouldn't he? But I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if we bought 2 stopgap signings in January, like a loan and then a player like a Kiwior type deal. You can bring him in now and have him sort of ready to come in and do a job in midfield. But because who the hell's going to sell their highest rated midfielder? Wolves are not going to sell Pedro Neto, and West Ham are not going to sell another piece of their midfield to us. They'll be sick of us if they did. I mean, unless you go abroad, and the only other one I could imagine is that lad from Brazil who's turning a lot of heads. Name escapes me. The guy, is it Flamenco? Liverpool looking at him as well. I can't remember his bloody name. But he's attracting a lot of interest, isn't he? Is it Andre? Is his name? Anyway, somebody will know. I wouldn't be surprised if we were fishing in that box. And by the way, sidebar, that lad at Nottingham Forest, he looks fucking mustard. Have you seen him? That centre back, the Brazilian they've got. He looks fucking brilliant. Do you know? I'm going to try and look up his name. He's a centre back, and they signed him from. Can't remember where they signed him now. But they signed him.
Don't know where he's from.
I'm just looking it up now. Brazilian defender, Nottingham Forest. Murillo signed for Corinthians. He looks fantastic.
So he'll be at Chelsea for 80 million. Chelsea 80 million next season. Yeah,
go to Saudi for 6 months and come back. But yeah, he looks really good because not only is he reminds me of David Luiz without the shitness and without the hair. He's a ball playing centre half, but the way he brings the ball out of defence, there's a bit of Thiago Silva in him as well. Good player. Anyway,
how's that bloke still doing it at 39?
Well, he's a consummate professional, to be fair.
It's amazing.
And he didn't have to do a lot in Liga for a couple of seasons. He was quite well looked after by Marquinhos and co. So, but no, I mean he is a consummate professional, to be fair to him, and a very likable bloke. So he's one of the few I don't wish evil on.
As Avon says, drugs.
Or drugs. yeah, exactly. The pep school of the medicine cupboard.
Before we wrap up, can we just briefly, and someone just mentioned it there, Bobex. Talk about, I know, and I know, because I know this is your worst subject to talk about. I understand.
Check complete.
But I just want 2 seconds. They're fucking shit. Sorry, I know they're just atrocious. And I know, I'll ask you a question, Kris. Do they have controversy in Liga the way they do in the Premier League? Like, I get the referees do not make decisions correctly all the time, and I don't want them to because that's human error, and I get that. But does VAR have as much controversy in Liga as it does in the Premier League?
No, but there are some. So obviously, I watch the English coverage, so a lot of it's the French feed, but it's the English coverage. So I'm not privy to what they say on Canal Plus or whatnot. Phil on our podcast is quite good at translating a lot of that for us, and she said there is quite a lot of debate because they basically in France they have like match of the day after the Sunday games. They go straight to match of the day. It's match of le day, yeah, indeed. But they have but it's a live program. It's all done live, and they have like ex-professionals in, and they talk about it all straight away. So it's a bit different to here, like where they have like that Monday Night Football. They have like that time to think about it, so they have an instant reaction to it. The one thing I would say about France though is that the decisions, much like Italy, you see some decisions and you go, oh well, surely that's a pen, and they'll show the replay back, and you'll be like, surely that's going to be given, and then it's not given, and they just get on with it. It's really quite weird. Like the uproar that we have over here, there's so many decisions in France that you look back on, you go, how on earth was that not a pen? Like, you know, the Ukraine one last night. Like you see those in France once or twice a weekend and nobody really says anything. The clubs just get on with it. So I wouldn't say it's flawless, but what they don't have in France is they don't fuck about for very long. It's usually like 1 or 2 minutes and done. The standard of refereeing in France is a lot better. I know he's not everyone's cup of tea, but Clément Turpin is regarded as one of the best referees in Europe at the moment. He's got one of those looks, like the Italian, the Collina look, where he doesn't have to
stare.
Yeah, he doesn't have to say anything. He just commands the respect of professionals. They've also got what's the name? The female official, French female official, Wendy, not Wendy Renard. That's Leon.
Wendy House?
No, I can't remember her name. Anyway, female referee. She's very good. Frappard, Sydney Frappard. Sandy Frappard. Anyway, Frappard.
Say anything now.
The problem with the Premier League is the referees are not up to standards. I mean, half of them are not even fit. Let's be honest, Karl. Like you said it a few times on this pod. Like some of them are not fit for purpose. Did you hear the audio that got leaked by the guy on Instagram from the Newcastle game? You know, and this whole...
What, the fake one or the real one?
The real one, where it's like, Stephanie Frappard, thank you, Bulgarian Guna. Where they sort of said, he's using his forearm, but not as a weapon. Oh, well, that's all right then. If you're running for a bus and you just happen to fucking chin someone, as long as you're not using it as a weapon, that's fine. Absolute bullshit.
I would love someone in the Premier League to tweet to tweet and say, I'm going to elbow someone this this week, but I'm not going to use it as a weapon.
Don't
I'm
worry.
just letting everyone know. Like, I'd love them to do it and to see what happens.
Kiss, little gentle kiss, little brush.
Yeah.
It's bullshit. It's absolute horseshit.
Has
Like
anybody checked up on Giroud after coming on as a late sub, banging in 2 goals and having 7 second-half goals and only 2 minutes of extra time? Has anyone checked that he's all right? Because I had him on down for another 4 or 5 goals. He must have been furious.
Well, you
It was
don't
2
want
minutes, wasn't it?
You don't want a gorgeous, furious Giroud. Yeah, and an overhead kick he scored the other day as well. But
Might as well.
but yeah, I mean, it's to answer your question, Karl. It's better in France, but the French have a certain way, don't they, about them? You know, they tend to have a very "we're better than you, fuck off, deal with it" attitude. It's quite arrogant over there. Premier League, I think you touched on it earlier on. It's about the money, isn't it? You know, Howard Webb and his little friend Michael. They've got to have their little show, and they've got to have this pomp and circumstance, and you know, it's not just Arsenal. Look at Wolves. I mean, Wolves have been absolutely fucked this year. Like, you know,
Bournemouth as well.
Bournemouth,
yeah. My issue is just that it's almost like not dictatorship. Yeah, maybe dictatorship. You can't say anything bad about them without being brought into disrepute. Now,
well, it depends. Yeah. Ask De Zerbi whether
how is he not being fucking brought up on charges? Like the shit that he said, and nothing's been done about it. Like
he's got a nice beard though, so
Sheffield United manager have a right go as well.
Yeah. But he's northern, so it doesn't count.
So my issue is they're going to come for Arteta. They're going to give him a match ban, because they're going to want to make an example out of him.
Get the laundry basket ready, mother.
And because of sort of how Sky and every professional seem to rally around the PGMOL. So, like, don't tell me it's not a mafia society. Of course it is. So they're going to make an example of him. They're going to give him a match, like they're going to, £50,000 in one game ban. They're blatantly going to put him in the stands.
I think he'll get 3. I think he'll get 3 games. I just got a feeling. Is that like you? I think they'll try and make an example, personally.
My issue from that is they were blatantly wrong. Wrong on all decisions, including the Havertz decision. So, should Havertz got sent off? Yes. There's no doubt Havertz should have been sent off. So, I'm not saying this from an Arsenal point of view. I'm saying this from a football point of view.
Yeah.
And the fact that how can you push someone with 2 hands and then have the cheat to say that's okay? Then the next game, Saka does it, and
it's a foul.
And it's just like, you're not even trying to show that you're inconsistent. Like you're not even trying now, because you would have thought that Howard Webb would have been like, look, the next Arsenal game, they can probably, because I literally would be like, if I was Arteta, I'd be like, you know what, push someone in the back and just see if it gets called a foul. I'd literally say that to them, and then I'd be like, how is that not a foul and this is a foul? Because apparently, sorry.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just going to say, but something that hasn't been made enough of this is Gabriel does everything right. The amount of uneducated people that are saying, "Oh yeah, but Gabriel's under the ball and then he gets caught." No, he deliberately arches his back to try and flick the ball away because he's trying not to head it into his own fucking net. Anyone with a brain who's ever defended in professional football knows that that's how you defend a back post cross. You flick it away with your head so it goes behind you, because he's got an incoming striker on. He's positioned his body perfectly. He's made himself big. He's planted his feet, and then fucking Joe Linton or whoever it was at the back post has just, literally shoved him into. He might have gone in the net with it.
I just don't understand how anyone can look at that and just say it's not a foul. Like, it just begs belief that these people who are professional, who get paid quite a lot, I think they get paid like 70 grand plus expenses. Can honestly look at that and say, no, that's not a foul, not a foul. And then the next game, oh yeah, Saka does it, it's a foul. Like, I'm not saying it's a conspiracy theory against Arsenal, because I'm not. It's ridiculous to say that. I honestly do.
Yeah.
But because every team gets fucked. Like the Wolves this season have been totally fucked. Like, but my issue is you can't question them. If you can't question them, how do they ever get better? Like. Surely you got to pull them up and be like, look, guys, come on. But the moment you question them, you get pulled up on charges. Like I said, I'm being very honest. That needs to be investigated. The PGMOL, someone needs to go in undercover, fucking news. Where's News of the World when you need them? Like undercover flipping expose with a camera.
It just needs to be it needs to be a separate body, doesn't it? It needs to be a completely non-linked entity, doesn't it? It's just like it's too much going on for it to be.
And it's just all the northern referees, like all of them are white, all of them are flipping like male, all of them come from like, thank you, Danny. Like this, I don't understand. So London has 9 million people living in it. 9 million. Are you trying to tell me of the 9 million people who live in London, not one person is good enough to be a referee for the Premier League out of 9 million?
Why have we've got one Australian. Why have we not got more European referees to give a different perspective? Because they don't fit in. That's why, you know.
And
it's just weird.
Man City, Man United, or Liverpool. That's the unbelievable bit.
It's just there's just so many I look at and I go, you're not even fit to run around the pitch. Like
because isn't so the Man City Liverpool game is been fucked.
Oh my god.
The Man City Liverpool game is being refereed by a Scouser. No, not by a Scouser. Sorry, for someone who lives in Manchester. I can't remember.
Manchester, I can't
remember who it was. But it's just like, come on, like you're just not even trying to hide it now.
And that Liverpool game. I mean, I'm no Klopp fan, but that Liverpool. Oh my god! You imagine if Liverpool finished second by a point at the end of the season. I mean, fucking hell! Like I'm no Liverpool fan, but my god.
You know, back in the days of Gladiator, they'd be fighting, and then one of them would have the other one down, and it wasn't thumbs up for kill him and thumbs down it was thumbs up to let him live. And then it won't be long before we have an entire panel at every game of people wearing Saudi Arabian dresses, and the referee will go, this, listening, and then they will go, penalty to Man City. Thank you, my lords. Carry on with the game. No VAR, they'll just decide the outcome. Much like the judiciary system in that country. Death.
I just don't know why. I just don't know why we don't live in a, if they're releasing the bloody audio post game where they can clearly decide what they put out or what they don't, because they're clearly not going to put out the all right, Trevor, pass me another digestive. But why? And I'm no rugby fan, but I watched the Cricket World Cup recently, and when they do an umpire call, the umpire dialogue is instant, and this whole argument of, but you'll hear the players saying, fuck this, fuck that. Well, we all know, anyone with a brain knows that live football is about 4 to 5 seconds.
Yeah, it's delayed, easily delayed.
So you'd be very easy to, you wouldn't even have to bleep it. You just muffle, you just turn the microphone down if anyone's swearing. But my main point is you wouldn't have swearing in the VAR. You'd hear a lot of fucking unqualified pillocks just arguing and talking over each other, which is all you seem to hear. But why, as I say, the Cricket World Cup, the batsman calls for a review. The umpire's microphone is immediately turned on. He states, batsman, whoever it is, head from Australia, whatever, is questioning the call. Can I please get this replay? Can I get that angle? Can I see this? Can I see that? It's all done live. And it doesn't take any longer than football does. Why can't we have that there and then? Because then it puts more pressure on them to get the right decision. Absolutely. But at least if we can hear what's going on, and it does take 3 to 4 minutes.
I think the issue is, and I've said this before, and they need to hire some 19, 20-year-old kid to just do the camera angles and drawing the lines.
Yeah.
The fact that the referee has to do it and they're not technically savvy, you need to hire some 25-year-old who fucking grew up playing Fortnite, who can just do them angles with a flick of a switch.
Look at the England game last night. Did you see that one? How long did it take them? So obviously offside.
And I don't get it. And surely you can get like some technical savvy person just to, do you want this angle? There you go. Do you want that angle? Yeah, I draw the lines. There you go. Quickly, bang. So the referee is not having to do it. He can just sit back and just make the decision. That's it.
Even if it's not lines, even if it is a controversial penalty, just be honest. Just be out there. Like, people would understand if you made mistakes, but they were hearing it live. They were hearing the decision-making process. Hearing like 3 Northerners just shout over each other for 5 minutes doesn't help anyone, does it? And we've got more cameras in grounds, and we've got more footage than ever before. We've got people on Twitter doing the fucking jobs for them now. We've got literally people doing it on Twitter.
Exactly, on their PCs at home. So if they get on PCs at home, why can't they do it quickly? And it's just, it's just really annoying that no one cares if a referee makes a mistake, but it's
No.
when they have the video evidence to
And still
replay
fuck
it
it up.
and still get it wrong. That's
Yeah.
I guess that becomes the issue. Like
One of
people
my-
can have. Go on. Sorry.
I was going to say, one of my mates, he's a quite popular streamer. I know him as Jack, but he's known as Pieface. He's a big Argyle fan, and he tweeted last night after the Ukraine decision. He's like, as an Argyle fan, I can't even imagine what you Premier League clubs go through week after week. I'm so glad we don't have to put up with VAR at home park.
That decision, how that wasn't a penny. Sorry, I have to laugh. And
he makes the most of it, but it's...
Yeah, he does. But if you haven't seen it, that is a penalty to Ukraine 10 times over.
The defender knows it. He looks so guilty. He's like, "Pull me off!" Like, so
and
obvious.
how they haven't looked at that and said it's a penalty, I don't understand. So bad refereeing is not exclusive to the Premier League. Like it's all over, unfortunately. But that's
we can't not have Italy at another major tournament. You know the rules.
Oh yeah, of course. Like especially in Germany and Europe, right?
Exactly. Yeah, we can't have that. Anyway, it's 10 o'clock. I feel like that's probably a good time to round this off. We normally would ask questions, but yeah, it's been a long show. It's nearly 2 hours. So, you get what you pay for. And frankly, none of you watching pay us a fucking cent. So go fuck yourselves. But no,
it's all in Femi's offshore fund. That's why.
Offshore Nigerian / Colombian accounts. Yeah, exactly. But no, we do really appreciate you all tuning in. For all of you in the live chat, thank you very much for tuning in. And of course, any of you that are listening on delay or on the podcast, or if you're going for a walk or a run or whatever you're doing and you've got us in your ears or having a poo, whatever. Thanks, Danny, for lowering the tone as usual. But thank you very much. We appreciate you. I've got a very quick thing to say in a minute, but Karl, you got anything you want to add before we go home?
I am going to America tomorrow, or whenever you listen to this, on Wednesday. I need to find somewhere to watch the Bournemouth game. So anyone that I'm going to be in New York. So if you know anyone, just send me a DM or a tweet, because I need to know where in New York I can watch the game. I think it's a 5 o'clock game, isn't it, over here? So it's going to be like midday in America on Saturday.
Isn't the Blind Pig, isn't that where everyone goes? Is that still a thing over there?
I have no idea.
Pretty sure that's a good one, but don't quote me on that. But it might be worth a Google.
But yeah, I need to find out where to watch the Arsenal game in New York. I'm going to be in Manhattan / Brooklyn. So yeah, that's me. But yes, thank you for having me on, Christopher and Daniel. Much appreciated. We can stop Daniel moaning for another week until next week.
Till he has to chase us all again in a week's time when we've lost to Brentford and none of us are available.
Well, when we lost to Brentford, obviously it'd be one of the highest shows, because we'll talk about Ramsdale being in goal, and we knew that Ramsdale wasn't good enough, and like Raya should come back in, and everyone will be justified.
And the 7 goals we don't get because of VAR checks and all that. Yeah, it'll be a great time. We look forward to it.
And Neville, I remember Neville and Jamie Redknapp can do that running. Yeah, that running. Remember last time we played Brentford?
Oh yeah, the dances.
Season, and the fucking dancers, the fucking pricks.
Of course, it is. It's an evening game, isn't it? So they'll be able to dance down the touchline. Fabulous stuff. Yeah, excellent. And we got Liverpool Man City on Saturday. I'm having a tattoo done, so I'm going to miss that. But hopefully they both lose. At that London Guy, if you want to tweet Karl with recommendations of where to go for pubage, etc. Danny, you won't be going to the pub on Saturday, but do you have anything you wish to say or plug or whatever?
Mike Hertz has given us 99 cents.
What a guy. Thank you, Mike.
It's the highest donation of the last 4 seasons. Thank you very much for that, Mikey boy.
Legend.
It's Mr. Canton's birthday today. The man is doing wonders. Well, happy birthday to him. And what else is there? The Offspring is home for a few days. So that'd be nice. Coming to bleed me dry.
Yeah,
there was something else I was going to mention.
You ain't going to spend your money on coke and hookers, so you might as well give it to your daughter.
Exactly. My account's always open. If you want to put any in, that's fine. No problem.
Yeah. Got one of my cats meowing, sat on the desk, being a pain in the arse. Anyone knows one meow.
We can hear her. Yeah, it's cute.
It's very old.
Well, when you think of what the hell you want to promote or plug, then
I can't remember what it was.
Oh, nor can I. We're not going to sit here for 20 minutes while you think about it.
Could be longer.
Exactly. If Danny thinks of what he's trying to say, then I'm sure he'll tweet it or something. But we'll plan to be back next week anyway. Don't know who. Don't know. Literally, the way this podcast works is we don't know who's going to host. We don't know who's going to be on. We don't know what game it is. We don't know when it's going to be. It literally could be any time, which is why, cheap plug, you have to flick the bell and subscribe and do all that good shit, because then you know when we go live, because your phone comes up with a little notification saying we're live.
In the last month, we've lost 20 YouTube subscribers.
20? We only had 32 in the first place. It's like, oh dear, fuck all of those guys. They're all bots. But no, we do appreciate each and every one of you. And just as we wrap up tonight, I think I made references in the last time I was on this podcast, but fuck it, I don't care, because it's an important message. So I've been absent for about a month, maybe 5-6 weeks. I don't know. It's been around about a month. And I'm not going to bore you with all the details, but I've gone through a bit of a shit time recently, personally. Nobody's died or anything like that. Just up here, the head's not been in a great place, and I've shared with the group, and I have absolutely no embarrassment to say I've had a bit of a rough period of mental health personally. And the only thing that's really got me through it is being active. And you've probably, anybody who follows my Twitter has probably gone like, does he just not talk about football anymore? All he talks about is running and pictures. Yeah, part of that's true. But it's my personal way of getting my feelings out there and expressing myself and celebrating my small wins. And all I am leading up to saying about this is that what you see here, excluding the awful haircut, this is the real me, but I have shit days. Karl has shit days. Danny has shit days. And just because you think everything is fine in somebody's life, it isn't always the case. And there are often a lot of things going on behind the scenes. So just be patient with people, be kind, be nice. And if this podcast is the only thing that makes you smile once a week because you can't get out and do stuff, that's good enough for us if we put smiles on people's faces. So just check in with people. I know it's the same message. I know it bores a lot of people, but it is important, whether you're male, female, young or old, it doesn't matter. Just reach out to people, and one tweet to somebody, one text message, one phone call can make the world of difference. Trust me, I know. So look after yourselves. We love you all very much. I will not go any further than that. But moving forward, hopefully I shall be around a little bit more, and I'll just keep running. Right, that'll do us for tonight then. So Karl, safe travels, my friend. Hope you find a good pub.
I hope so. And to all the American policemen, please don't shoot me. I do not have
one of them.
Weapons on me. So hopefully I go to America, I boost your economy by spending some money, and I come back all in one piece, hopefully to a win against Brentford, because I don't like Brentford, and I don't know why I don't like them. Maybe because they were bust up in Hounslow, but
it was their first Premier League game, ruined the season for us.
I think that's what it is, and this is something about Brentford I just don't like. But they won't have their striker Ivan Toney. Fucking prick! He probably put a bet on for the game. But do you know what I realised? The other day I was talking about another footballer, and I was like, I hate any footballer that's not associated with Arsenal. Like, if you're Arsenal footballer, I love you. Yeah, some that are pricks. But like, did you see Kris? Did you see? Sorry, I've got to say this. There's an article of Gallas saying that how Saliba can become a world-class striker. I did laugh. I was like, who is Gallas to give advice to about becoming a world-class striker?
Marcel Desailly also, he did an interview with my colleague Jeremy at French Football Weekly, and he basically said Saliba isn't world-class yet, and that he believes that Konate at Liverpool is a better centre back. So I mean, and I love Marcel Desailly, but that's a bad. Do you know what I realised?
People who play football have some of the shittest fucking opinions.
Yeah, but it gets clicks, doesn't it? If they say something, they just say something that's sensible. Saliba's the best central defender in Europe right now. Fact. Yeah. So if you don't think that, you're an idiot. But hey, that's fine. People want to hate.
Written all over him.
Yeah. Shut up, Danny. No, he hasn't.
Him and Bellingham.
Right, let's get out of here. Danny, thank you for your time. Much appreciated.
Thank you for turning up.
You're welcome.
Exchange.
I try. And Karl, if you happen to find any Chicago Fire shirts while you're in America, pick one up for me. That's a good chap. Right, that is it.
In New York, I will.
Yeah,
John,
probably not.
Miami John lives in Chicago now. He'll get you one.
I'll maybe not drop him a message. Anyway, that was about Wonderland. We have been an Arsenal podcast. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, keep it Arsenal. Good night.
As soon as I scored that goal, I was fucking livid. Get down, dog. Splendid business.
He nearly caught the bloody thing. What are you talking about?
So I was just eating a full quiche. Well, you don't often see them at Ibs, so when you see them in the supermarket, they need to be swagged, microwaved immediately, and get the brown sauce on and bosh, Bob's your uncle.
Never in doubt.